Okay.
No, it's okay. I use this one. Okay, so let me just get this set up. Get started. All right, so this discussion is about what are the issues in regards to video game publishers like Blizzard and Riot have in the gambling industry. So let's find common ground. The reason why, Mike, I've asked you actually on this panel, and I'll give you that opportunity to explain it, is what you guys are doing with people who are in the publishing world on the video gaming side. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your company, and then we can get more into the details.
Sure, thank you. I'm Mike Darley, the CEO of Next Gaming. There's been a lot of discussion, rightfully so, about skill-based skill games. That dialogue has been very good here. What Next Gaming has done for the last 5 or 6 years is utilize IP from Atari and Taito to create skill-based games based on titles like Asteroids, Arkanoid, Bust-a-Move. That was a convergence of the need to introduce younger people. That was our goal. Introduce younger people into the casino. It's been a conversation here a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it is. In fact, one of the things I wanted to touch upon, though, was introducing these people, younger people, but what we mean by younger, you're using really, these are retro games to the younger crowd today. They're not even they're not the games that they're normally used to playing, which is like, Super Smash Brothers, League of Legends, and Apex Legends, and the type of games that are actually out there. These are more the retro games, so this would be more fall into a older millennial Gen X kind of demographic, right?
Well, you are right. Though when people think about some of the games we have, those are generational. Your dad played them, your grandkids played them, grandkids played them. I think the commonality there is competition. I mean, there's some core behaviors that we all have, right? You like to compete, you like to win, you like to, not for everybody, but you like to be mentally challenged. Now, the games that you're describing certainly are much more complicated than the games we have. For us to be successful, we need decisions per minute. That's a slot machine, right?
Yeah, well, your games are they based on a random number generator, random generator number, whatever it's called.
Well, that's true. If we didn't introduce some type of randomness into a skill-based game, we would have the professionals that could beat the casino all the time. That's why we did it. Nevertheless, our goal was to introduce an interactive experience, unlike a slot machine, that you could have different sessions with, that you could have 60 different experiences while you're in that game in different levels of skills, which is different than the slot machine and pressing a button and look for an outcome. To your point, yeah, the games that you describe, I mean, those are games that people enjoy for a long period of time, right?
Yeah.
They really do. So we try to condense that experience into something that can translate into casino.
Right. So, having said that, this is an interesting how did you or how were you able? Because the games that you're utilizing come from publishers originally, like Atari, and how did you find the common ground with those publishing groups to say, okay, you can use my game and you can use it in the gambling industry?
That's a great question, and it took quite a while. Especially Taito. They're based in Japan, and they're very conservative, very conservative. With Taito and I've had a relationship with Taito for 5 years. And with the Japanese group, you have to start with a personal relationship. You have to gain their trust. And once I gain their trust and talk to them about the benefits to expand, delivering their IP to a different group of people, that was where we broke ground. That was absolutely where we broke ground. With Atari, Atari is different. It's based, Fred, who I dealt with a long time, he was selling the brand. Fred just wanted the IP check for the brand, and we could essentially do whatever we wanted to with the IP we had, but we were not going to do anything but to pay homage to the original games. So when you play any of our games, you will believe that you're back in the arcade playing the games where you win the money. Good question. It took me a long time to gain the trust of Taito and Atari. And now that I have them, the next step for us is to be an omni-channel provider. When we can deliver those games online, and Andrew was here with Skills. We've talked in length with Skills to try to deliver our games to them, because I think our games are perfect for the Skills application, because our games in a casino have a component of gambling and it has a component of score. They're independent of each other. So we call the score the ego, because we have a leaderboard. Can I get on the leaderboard? Can I get a big score? And the gambling portion is, the decisions and the rewards. But for our ability to translate that score into a competition on a Skills platform where it's peer-to-peer, that seems perfect for us. As I said, I'm currently working with Atari and Taito to cajole them into getting into a space that they haven't been in before.
So basically, I mean, what the driving revenue for a lot of the bigger publishers, some of them based in California, Atari is also based in California, but I sat here last night, we talked about how money drives a lot of their decision making, obviously, because these are companies that, they want to see their numbers grow money wise. Was that part of the conversation when you said, you know what, you'll make money here? Because I know that your games are currently on the floor at Binion's and Four Queens in Las Vegas.
Correct.
So what was the, you said it took a while, but was money ever an issue? Like, did the publisher say, hey, this is another vertical of opportunity that we can take and make some more money on our games?
Well, I think anything in business is about money. You have to have the financial aspects. That's where you really have a valid conversation about what our ability to pay homage to their brand and to expand their brand, Bust Moves, Space Invaders, Arkanoid, to a whole new group of demographic. And that was really an impetus of some of the conversation is you've got these games on your shelf. They've got millions of followers. So let's take them off the shelf. Let's introduce them to a casino. Let's introduce them to a different experience where you're wagering on them. And again, it took quite a while to convince them, but it was another vertical for revenue.
Right. Now, we've talked before about community bases and that kind of thing. These games have communities behind them. They have people who play those games now. Arkanoid and these other games. How do you see at this point the next step in the evolution of particularly these games that have a history of people playing them as kids, now being able to utilize them in a casino?
Well, we think the complementary approach is to get them online. Because when you get to these games online, then you've got a population that's exponentially bigger than somebody walking through a casino. The formula works better for us in terms of making a game and getting out to a large population. Everybody's got a phone, everybody plays it, match 3, Bust a Move. I have a limited ability to have people play the games in a casino. I have 10 games in a casino. I only have 10 opportunities for people to play. But if I can get online, I can do that. Just a conversation with Skills where we're talking about, playing in competition We can introduce the ability to get on, here's an example, we haven't done it yet, so I'll just share the idea, that if you sat down and played one of our games in Vineyards for Queens, there'd be a QR code.
Right.
And you could use the QR code to get online and play the game online in that format. And I think that will create awareness of our games back and forth, and allow a larger group that has an affinity to those games and use the bloggers and use the YouTubers and use that, because that's really what's driving a lot of this business now, to create the population and the synergy to get some impetus behind those
The
games.
buzz, do you foresee more of these types of retro games getting, like, once you're leading this charge now, do you see a lot of these other companies that would follow suit in these retro types of games?
I think it could. I really do think it could, but what they're gonna wait for is our success. They're gonna wait till they see our games, but the catalog that we have from Atari and Taito is extensive. In addition to the games we have the ability to create games that are based on the theme, like we have Bust a Move and Bust a Move Adventure. We can have Arkanoid and Asteroids 1 and 2 and 3. So what our hope is that we get people to play the game, that they like the game, and as in any other game that's on the internet, it needs to evolve.
Right.
And to create a different experience and a new experience as they play that game through the course of their.
But like I said, you have a leg up on this because you have people who have had this game and have been playing, similar to like Monopoly. When you're a kid, you played Monopoly with your family, and you walk into a casino, and then you see a Monopoly slot machine. But you can, it resonates as, I know the label, I know the thing. But your game is actually taking it to another level, because what we're doing and what we're talking about here is you've created a game that is literally, it's similar with, keeping the casino in mind, that they're not going to lose their shirt, but it's similar to someone playing when they were a kid in an arcade. Beyond that, we see, and so do you see, or is it possible, as someone who's already dealt with a publisher like Atari and others, do you see the other publishers following suit in these other popular games that are now with the even younger audiences? And as they come of age, is it possible that we'll see something like a Nintendo come around? Because Nintendo, another Japanese company, would they come around with, Smash Ultimate or one of these fighting games that they would put forward and say, yes, we can try to gamify that type of game?
Certainly, I think they could. Let me back up to your last comment. When you talked about people having an affinity to the game, it's been very rewarding for us to get feedback from the customers. And we've created those games to play just like the arcade. So when somebody sits down on the game, and we've had this is on like verbatim, oh my God, I used to play this when I was younger. I can't tell you how many quarters I put in those machines. And they immediately get that affinity to playing that game. That is something that's built in that you can't replicate. That, they talk about Gambling, GameCo, and the other companies that, were entering this skill-based world. The thing they didn't have was that built-in affinity to the game.
Right.
The community. The community, right, just exactly the right community. The answer to that question about, well, Nintendo or some of the other ones, certainly they could, but I think sometimes they're involved in so much stuff. The space that we're in, the skill-based games with the casino and soon to be the internet, isn't on the radar. I don't think it's going to be on the radar for a long time unless it gets really big. We'll fill that void first, and we say we're the last man standing because we're convinced that earlier, I think yesterday, somebody had mentioned it's all about timing. That Gambling and GameCo were kind of ahead of the time. Well, truly, but we're here. So we're in that time, and we're trying to do the same thing that esports is create a larger group of people, a large enough group of people where it makes sense to continue our quest to have something new and innovative out in the field.
No, I can definitely relate to Last Man Standing, because all you people out there in internet land, and you're going to watch this video later, the CEC is still here. It's not going anywhere, and we are literally the last man standing when it comes to indie integration in this vertical. And yeah, I mean, we've been beaten up. It's been a rough ride. I mean, I got to tell you, but overall, I think if we stick to our guns, there's communities there. We know that there's communities there. Absolutely right. Not being able to get the word out to those affiliated or affiliated communities to the games that you're actually pushing out. And yeah, I definitely also agree with you in regards to Nintendo, but there is a disagreement on the gambling side. On the casino side, they'll talk to you and they'll say, oh yeah, the 21-year-olds, well, they're gonna be 40 one day and they're gonna sit down and play a slot machine. So I don't really have to worry about these skill-based things, but there are people here that are creating skill-based games in Pennsylvania and other places that are finding that gray area almost. They're not even bothering with the gambling industry. They're pulling the DraftKings and FanDuel move from 15 years ago when they started as a fantasy betting league, and finding that spot that the regulators look and they scratch their head, and the law and the legal people of the states scratch their head. They go, well, that's not gambling and that's not chance based, so I don't have any. I don't know what to do with this. Do you think we'll see more of that happening, where some of the bigger gambling facilities will say, well, let's start now with these types of games that, with not necessarily people winning for money, but because they're going to be regulated, the casinos, but maybe people playing for prizes to start.
Well, interesting question. People playing for prizes in a casino, in my opinion, is always money.
Right.
If you're in a casino, that's what you want to do, is play for money. I think that the experience, when we talk about iPhone's a good example. For our first iPhone 15, I don't know what it is, but there's always enhancement to that experience, right? There's always expectations to that experience, and I think there's been a lot of talk about the slot floors, and I get the slot floors. I've run plenty of them.
Yeah, they might as well be paved in gold. I mean, literally, for the casino owners, they're very, very valuable.
Well, it's valuable, but there's a balance too. You hit on it. Has to be. This is a good example. You can't go anywhere on the facility without feeling good. If you go to the restaurant, you get a good meal. If you go to the hotel front desk, you get courteous help. If you go into the slot area, you have a good selection of slots. You have table games, everything. So if 10 people came in, not 10 people want the same experience, right? You have to have enough experiences, a variety of experiences for the patrons to choose. And I think from our standpoint, I don't need 100,000 people in a casino. I need enough people to say, hey, let's go play Bustin'. Hey, let's go play Asteroids. Let's go have some competition side by side, because it's fun, because the slot machines, to many of the younger group, are going, at least this one's interactive enough and challenging enough to be different.
But it's interesting because I want to just touch on the fact that, and I kept bringing this up, that we've been running GamerCon conventions, and I have talked to thousands and thousands of younger people, 21 and older mainly, that play regular video games like yours. They're really interested. They have some of these other conventions, mine too included, have sections where we have retro games. They actually have the old Street Fighter 2, or there's an Asteroid game, and they have the games, and the younger people are into the retro too. But what I've asked these younger people is, if you could go into a casino, and because the casinos is always thinking, I have to make, as Victor Rocha said earlier today, that machine's bringing in a revenue $250 to $500, sitting on that machine a day. And if that's the standard, but the actual person that's coming in, the younger person that's coming in, is just going, like you said, coming in for the experience of playing Bustin', coming in for the experience of playing Arcanine or one of these other games, it is definitely something where we're touching on the experience itself. If the casino's making money on it, that's a bigger plus. If the person walks away and they get high score or whatever the point is of the game, and they make a little money, that's something else. Like you said, it is coming down to the experiences, and I don't know what to think anymore because should I buy into the fact that all these casinos executives are saying, you know what, we really don't need these skill-based games. We just have to have these people play what we're offering, which is our slot machines. I don't know. I don't see it. I mean, I don't know if there's any. I don't know if there's any numbers that support that in any way, but it is something that's been sort of obviously not keeping me up late at night, but it is something that's gnawing at the back of my brain, where these casino executives are saying, we don't have to worry about it. They're going to just age out, and they'll be at the slot machines with their air tanks, etc., and that'll be that. I mean, where do you stand on that?
Well, there's a spot on a slot floor anywhere for 4 to 8 games. I walked this floor, and it's a beautiful floor, and they've got great games on this floor. But there are certain areas of the floor where they have older games. I think our games would perform just as well. So what's the risk for a casino? What's the risk if I said, look, I just want to put 4 skill-based games in and put them over here in the corner, and let's see what your clientele says about them, because they're not displacing anything. They're not displacing $250 a day machines. They are in a spot where people will seek them out. So the small size of our company is really to our benefit. Because I'm not an IGT, I'm not an AGS, I don't have to go sell 40, 50 games at a time. I just need 2 or 3 or 4 and get the people to have that experience. One of the unfortunate circumstances that we have to overcome is the expectation of skill-based gaming when people talked about it at first. It was going to be the panacea of people aging out into the casino, and all the new players were going to come in, and they were going to be skill-based players, and that didn't work. For a variety of reasons, it didn't work. And when Gambling and Game Code, Synergy Blue, and everybody else pulled out, it really left a bad taste in the mouths of the casino patrons. So having a conversation about skill-based games is tougher now. Yeah. But I think if I can mitigate the risk, 4 games, big deal, 4 games, in your casino of 1,200, 2,800, I don't think it's very risky.
Well, it's interesting because we're here at a property. We're going tonight to the mixer. And this is why I was looking for Chadwick to join the panel, but I mean, you have to understand that this casino is already in motion by having tournaments and younger people playing in Smash Brother tournaments, Nintendo, of course. There is groups of people that they've collected of 21 and older that if they put your machines right outside where they're having tournaments, the people who are not up in that bracket round for the tournament now have something else to do. Now they can go play your retro games. And I can guarantee you that they see them on the floor, right near the tournament space, and say, wow, that's cool, a retro game. I can play that, while I'm waiting for the next round for me to be up for the next round of brackets. So there's so much that we can learn from what you're doing, being the last man standing, obviously. But there's so much more that I think that the casinos can sort of learn from people like you and from people like the CEC and others that attend this event that can see the future. And honestly, in my opinion, I don't know. I see numbers and the stock prices of many of the corporate level companies, and they fluctuate, they go down, they go up. But the question and matter is, you walk the beautiful floor here. You can walk any floor in the middle of the week of any casino, and there's not a lot of people there. There are not a lot of people. There are not a lot of people coming. But when they have a tournament here on a weeknight in the middle of the week, they get quite a few people coming in to play a Smash tournament, a Smash Brothers tournament. So the question then is, if there is an opportunity, and certainly we're proving that point. But my question, and I'm going to finish this off with this conversation, is when you see and you get your stuff online, the casino adaption I think we have more of an issue with not the community itself, because they'll play the games. I think it's you're trying to convince the casinos. And we started this conversation with talking about how you convince the publishers. But I think you have a harder lift or more of a struggle dealing with the gaming and the gambling people on that side when it comes to regulators, when it comes to executives, when it comes to their stock price. How are you moving them forward so that they can see what we're seeing?
Great question. Some of it is the ability for them to take a chance, right? I mean, they've got preconceived ideas about skill-based gaming, obviously, if you're in this world. But just like this facility, you have a turn because the executives are progressive enough to say, let's try it. And I've got many casinos that are excited about it and want to introduce the games that we're working on now. It's the continual conversation. I've got to mitigate their risk. Like I said, if I can convince somebody, just take 4 games, take 4 skill-based games, and let's see how they do. In this slot world, they're going to ask me for a 30-day free trial or a 60-day free trial. Okay with me. So what's the risk? 0, right? The reward is you get 4 machines on the floor. Whatever they make is yours. You don't have to pay anything for it. And then we can see how your clientele goes. I think that the more progressive that those slot directors are, and it's getting harder and harder to find somebody embedded in the slot world that really thinks about that and can overcome their boss saying, come on, man, I need another $100 out of that square foot. That's really what you have to overcome.
Yeah, I think that is the challenge on the gambling side. I think the publishers would be willing, like you said, the ones that you're working with, Atari and others. And I think at the end of the day, we're going to see more. You'll see. Well, this is why we're starting here. We've been in Vegas with the CEC. That's where we started in 2017. But being in Native America is much more of a personal approach. They're more willing to take risk. And the issue is with, and we mentioned this on the here last night, is when you talk to a guy like Victor Rocha, and he knows that the executives are like, that machine's got to perform at $250 to $500 for that space. There are not a lot of executives that are going to say, you know what, I'm going to take this risk, I'm going to put something else there, because it's their job on the line. And that's one of the things I think that stymied not just the casino and gambling industry, but all industries across the United States when it comes to taking risk and moving forward. The only ones that are going to do it are the entrepreneurs like us, but the truth is, it's the convincing publishers I think you have. They'll be fine. It's convincing the gambling industry to say, well, maybe that 40-year-old isn't going to go to the slot machine when they turn 40. And maybe they don't want to play those slot machines. And from where I'm standing, in the middle of the week when there's nobody in the place and nobody's playing, there aren't a lot of people playing slots, and the average age of the person that is on the floor is at least 50 or older, I think that's a clear sign.
Well, I think so too. And customers are complicated. Just some of the conversations we've had with our customers, male, female, oh, I just, I'm not making any assertions, but the guys, it's like, I play this. I don't go to, my wife loves the casino. She'll come and play slots. It's like, I come because she wants to come, but I would play this. How many I can get that might experience that with the camaraderie with their significant other, I think is important. Part of that conversation has to be on my behalf to the casino operator. It's like, okay, we need to grow this, right? You are going to get additional business. You are going to get additional trips. You're going to get, but how do you quantify that quickly with somebody that's looking for that revenue?
Absolutely. And just one last thought about the casinos on the side of the corporate end of it. There have been some that have done tournaments and they don't see the revenue. And if they don't see it immediately, that's it. They don't take a risk. They're not in the world of building. They're in the world of maintaining what's currently there. And it's up to people like us to convince them to build for the future. And I think we're both on the right track. And I just wanted to thank you for your time and coming in and talking to us about this.
Well, it's always been a pleasure. We've been through a number of years.
That's
already,
right.
So
You're in the first one.
We sure were. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Okay, I think we're going to start with our next panel. Thanks, Mike. Okay.